as a fire investigator, we're there to conduct a thorough fire investigation to determine the origin and cause. Code enforcement, a lot of these apartment fires that we go on, we can come in there and make sure they're got working smoke detectors, fire extinguishers available, so we do follow up with the code enforcement as far as that goes, as well as the fire investigations. We're going to properly photograph, handle, tag, and deliver to the appropriate agency anything that we do collect. We do collect our own evidence, so we will be, if it's needed, we will collect that and get it ready and send to the lab. We respond to investigate structure fires, of course, vehicle fires, sometimes outside fires. We're not always needed on outside fires. If you've got one that's like along the roadway and it's just that there's nobody that's been seen setting the fire, or there's nobody in, the cops have already, they're holding for questioning. There's no need for us there if it's just a brush fire with nobody of peaks of interest. We do go by the NFPA 921 guidelines when we are doing our fire investigation, so you'll see it takes us a little bit of time. We'll take pictures around the whole house, inside, outside, and inside. We're getting also the pictures of the clean rooms, the unburned rooms, and this helps cut down on insurance fraud later on. If it does help with that. Then we're going to move into the room of origin. So it will take us a little bit longer. We have some slides of showing you some things that we need your help with when we are in the room of origin on these. And then so we're going to do photographs. We can video some of the stuff. We'll take measurements, talk to the witnesses. We use sketches. We'll talk to you guys. What did you guys find when you got there? What did y'all see when you got inside? Things that you encountered before we even get there. And some of our bigger reports, it takes us a little while to get those composed, so we have 21 days before we get the full-blown reports done. But on something really simple, we'll have it and we'll get that put in our part, but we also will attach it to your narrative, and we'll go over that too. And when the slide comes up, we'll show you that. Not all fires require for us to go, like I said, the outside fires. If there's a small kitchen fire, stovetop fire, and it didn't do a lot of damage, it's just smoked up the place, you guys are allowed to, determine that origin and cause, and we're not really needed on those calls, so y'all can cancel us on those. But at any time you feel like you need us to come in on any call, we'll be more than happy to. We already talked about the code enforcement inspections. Nightclubs, overcrowding. If you run a med call and you think there's way too many people in there, we do enforce overcrowding on these. So we get PD involved, and we'll start going in there and getting counts, and we can cite them for each head over the amount that they're allowed. We also follow up on inspections of occupancies that are placed on the fire watch. And we have a 24-hour turnaround on those for the most part, because when you guys put them in the system and mark them as fire watch, it generates a spreadsheet to us. That way we can go ahead and look at them. We look at them every morning between 8 and 9 if we're on the call that early. And then we push that out to the inspectors, and then they can follow up and find out what the problem is and make sure they're in the right direction of getting those fixed. The execution of permits issued by the division, we do some permitting work. We follow up, we inspect tents and that kind of thing. There'll be another slide we'll hit on that as well. And anything that the deputy fire marshal wants us to inspect, we will do that. These are our automatic dispatches: structure fires and explosions, vehicle fires, code enforcement complaints. Sometimes we'll get a complaint at the office and we follow up on those, or we'll if y'all get out to a site and you see blocked exits, that kind of thing, call us. We'll come out and we can issue citations for those. Unsafe structures, we will touch a little bit on that here in a little bit. And any other times that we're requested by the IC, we're going to come out. I'm not feel free to jump in anytime if y'all have anything to add. Now, on the fire watch procedures, used to in the old days, you would send an email and let us know that, y'all put somebody on fire watch. That is not necessary anymore, because when you check that box in your firehouse tab, it automatically generates that spreadsheet that I was telling you about. That way we're aware of it and we can get it handled within 24 hours. Either if it's during the weekend, we'll follow up, Car 33 will follow up on it, or during the week it's pushed out to the inspectors. Unless they're backed up and they need our assistance on those. So it's not necessary to notify us by radio, email, or phone calling anymore to let us know. Now, if you do have, you're talking to someone and they're like, well, we're going to get this fixed today, and they might want to touch base with us, you can call and say, hey, I just want to give you a heads up. We were at this place today, and they're putting it on Fire Watch, and they're going to work on it, but he's going to reach out to you. And that way, at least I have a name and understand, have a little bit of what's going on already. So that's okay if you want to call and say, hey, just to give you a heads up, I'm okay with that. Nightclubs, we don't put them in Firewatch. They will actually, if they cannot get their system up and running or reset, they have to close for the evening until they can get that Firewatch clear, their system checked out and back up and reset and running. So, yes.
Sorry. Does that go for bars, like just neighborhood bars and everything?
Mm-hmm. Well, we look at it as if they're serving alcohol and there's music and their fire alarm system, they can't get a reset on it, they're closed for the night. So that's a high hazard, and so they don't get fire watches, they just have to close.
And to Vicky's point, your clubs that have fire alarms, they're 299 people or more, so those are a large. Your neighborhood bar is not going to have a fire alarm in it anyway.
Yeah.
So, and I think another point is if you do have a nightclub and you do have a fire alarm and 33 doesn't know about it, I would notify them that right then if you're going to close the business for the night. They need to be involved in that part of it.
Yeah, because y'all might get some flack for that, like, we're just going to close you for the night. Call us out there because we can do that code enforcement part of it.
Right.
And then if we need GPD to come, they'll come and assist us as well. So, and then like in the overcrowding, usually it's GPD calling us saying, hey, I think they got too many people in here. We'll work a plan with them. Some of these little events pop up in some of the weirdest places that aren't even, classified as being used for that, and they'll try to cram a bunch of people in there. So we'll have to go and probably shut them down. But if they're overcrowded, special events and stuff like that.
Go back.
One more go?
No, go back to that.
This one?
Yeah, I think just pay attention to D. Don't call communications and put a location on Firewatch or no response or test, whatever you want to call it. Let the property rep be responsible for all that, because what we've found is when the fire department does that, communications is or the owner's waiting on the fire department to take it off, and it's really the owner's responsibility to be doing that. So we don't want a gap in monitoring or coverage because we didn't call it back, put it back off the test. So just let the property owner be responsible to do that.
And we'll hit a little bit on that when we come to the fire alarm section 2, because there's some things that she'll go over as far as the length of time that they'll put them on test and that kind of thing. We are never to put anybody on communication-wise, a no response or anything like that. Now, if you go to a business in the middle of the night and you cannot get a property rep to show up, nobody's calling you back, could be that there's nobody there. Firewatch is one person or more. They have to be on Firewatch. If there's no one there, take this to their front door. So maybe the cleaning person that comes in at 3 o'clock in the morning, or the first person in at 6 or 7, 8 o'clock, they know something happened. Of course, you might not be able to even get in to silence the alarm. So it's going to keep going until somebody can go and get a reset on this. But if you take this, at least they know something happened, and they'll call that number and they'll say, hey, I've got this to my door. We can look up the incident number, and you can let us know that you've had to do this, so we'll know when they call in what they're talking about. I think the new ones have Car 33 phone number on here. I think this is the communications right here. But the new ones should have our number on there. So they'll call us and say, hey, I got this on my door. But you can give us a heads up on those so we kind of know, and we'll know what incident it is. Let's see, code enforcement, follow up performed by the line fire inspectors. We already talked about that. Yeah, y'all can read all that if you wanna go deeper into this. The impairments, when you do, one thing that is important is when you do mark the fire watch tab, we do need a name of an impairment coordinator there, the who you've talked to, that who you'll put in charge of doing that walk around, and their phone number, because that is who we are going to first reach out and say, hey, you know, we ran this last night, what's being done, did y'all figure it out? A lot of times, 9 times out of 10, it's somebody working there that don't know how to reset it, and that's all it needs is just a reset. So they'll silence it, but they won't know until, they don't even know a code until that person comes in the next morning. So sometimes they'll go ahead and call us and say, hey, we got it fixed, and this is what the problem was. Sometimes it may take longer than a day. They might have a part that needs to be ordered, so it might be in Firewatch for weeks. But as long as we know, we can keep reaching out to them and following up until it gets completely fixed. So we do take it out of Firewatch on your side. Once you click it in there, we go in there and we check that box, so it takes it off our spreadsheet once we have routed this out to the inspectors. But we're still following up on it. It just won't show it if you go back in there and like, oh, it's not on Firewatch anymore. Commercial buildings, like I said, 1 person or more, it has to be on Firewatch. Regardless of, you know, if there's not being occupied, then they don't need the Firewatch. But the next morning when that next person comes in, they'll need to resume that Firewatch. Residential, multifamily, your apartment complexes, they have to be on Firewatch. We have to get a hold of a rep, and in your pre-plans, if the numbers that you guys are trying or the cars, you know, on scene, they're trying to get a hold of somebody and nobody's answering, check with Car 33, because we can go into the inspections module and maybe we have a contact that you guys do not have on your side. And because, you know, a lot of these places that we find doing inspections, they change a lot. Your property managers, I've only been here 2 months, but you know, they rotate out. Restaurants are real big on it. They always have a new manager on site. So if you know, we hit these places, you know, a lot of the once a year, so we're getting updates. But when you do your pre-plans, you should be getting updates as well. But if somebody changes in the midst of that, their number might be on there and they may not know who took their place. So just make sure that we do get somebody for those apartment complexes that has to be out there walking those apartments on Firewatch. In your box, we need to know what system. Was it, you know, the fire alarm, the sprinkler system, was it bug? So you need to make sure you check the appropriate box for that as well. And a lot of times we can go back and read your narrative too and see, you know, what the issue is. A lot of times people are doing maintenance on some of these things. They're doing repair works at night so the dust is setting off. But if they can't get a reset, they still have to be on Firewatch. Yep, right here, like Keith was saying, fire company shall not place a building with a no response with the communications. Only that property rep can call their monitoring company and tell them, you know, put us on test. But we're not to put anybody on test or to have them do a no response.
Right. And I know it's a pain in that, especially if you get out there riding the same call over and over again with the alarm going off. But if you guys ride more than twice and already told the owner, hey, you need to put the system or have a technician put it on test, if they're not doing that and you're still riding calls, push it up to them. They can go out there and take care of it for you.
Yeah.
I know a lot of times you keep riding the same place over and over and over again. It's very tempting to call and say, hey, put this on no response, but don't do that.
Would they go out there that night at 2 in the morning and do this, or?
They work 24 hours.
Yeah,
I know that,
if
but
you're
they-
making contact with somebody and they're not doing their part, then yeah, we can go out there, we start issuing, you know, threatening citations and stuff, and you start hitting them in the wallet, they're gonna wanna obey and try to get something done.
So you all would talk to them at 2 or 3 in the morning?
Yeah, you call us at any time. We got that phone on us 24 hours, so any time of the night you need us, just don't hesitate to call us.
Just be reasonable. I mean,
You
you
know,
can handle it, but
yeah.
they can make it a little tougher on them.
I had a captain call me at 2 o'clock this morning and I helped him like walk through a deal. Actually, it wasn't, it was a chief. But, and so, yeah, that's totally okay. Like if you got a question and you don't know the proper way to handle it or whatever, feel free to call. at any time.
Yeah.
Not on the TAC channel, I call the cell phone if it's in the middle of the night.
Yeah, yeah, because some radios are turned off at night, but the cell phone's always on. And then even during the day, like if you guys get on there, instead of doing all long conversation on a TAC channel, just call the cell phone, our cell phone. And because there's some things that you might not want to be heard, over the air, or just if you're not sure, hey, we don't care, call the cell phone. We've got it, and it's there for a reason. So, like I said, the fire watch forms, we do look at those between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock every morning when we come in, providing we're not on a call. So we go ahead and start pushing those out, so the sooner that we can get them back in order and running, or they can touch base with the property owner and get them up and running, the better off we are and the safer it is. So, and they'll take care of the inspection side on theirs. And if it's something big, like a fire pump's gonna be put down, they call and say, hey, our fire pump's down, we can't get the part in for a week. I personally is gonna call the stations in the territory and say, look, this is what you have, so just so you know, when you get there, you're not gonna have that to help you, so you're gonna have to have more water and, relay that to all the shifts. Just, so if it's something big, we're gonna let y'all know. Touch on permits, or you want me to keep going?
You're good, keep going.
Because I know she just got off the call, she's trying to calm down. Permits, they have to go downtown and pull permits for different things, special events, blasting, and just the tents. Special event permits, a lot of times these are things that aren't tied to a direct address. So when we put them in the inspection side, we use the 1512 North Church Street instead of the physical address. If they have a physical address, we can use those, but they have to pull permits. We have to go and inspect these tents and stuff because they have to, food trucks, we don't have regulations over the food trucks, but we can enforce that they have like their wheel chocks down, they have a fire extinguisher. If they have a cooking system in there, we make sure the hoods have been cleaned. It's not a big fire hazard, for the public, so it's all about the safety. The tents, we make sure they're secure, they have fire extinguishers. If they're, closed tents, over 800 feet, they have to be permitted. And if they've got sides, they have to have exits, and they have to follow all these regulations. So we do go and inspect these and make sure that they have everything that is required. Exit signs, no smoking signs. Like I say, they have to be anchored really good and not just like, barely where they can blow away. They have to be pretty significant. The firework tents, we're looking for exits, so no smoking. The generators, we're checking those, they have to be so many feet away from them. So for the public safety, we're just checking everything. Anything you want to add to those? The blasting, they do, we'll go in and the blasting permits. I've not done any of these personally, I know you have. You want to talk on that? Or?
Well, the blastings we handle internally, and we have a lengthy permit that they have to fill out, they have to show proof of insurance, all that good stuff. But we just go out, make sure they got signage. If we need to close roads to traffic, we do that. You guys, we don't usually have to involve you guys for any of that stuff, but once in a while you may hear us on the radio saying we're doing a blast, so if someone hears something, not to call, but very rare. If any of you guys ever want to go out and see something like that, let us know. We're happy to let you tag along and see a blasting. Or sometimes you are involved with special events because we have to assign a truck sometimes, depending on what the event is. But,
Especially downtown,
Yeah.
Fun Forth and all that. We have to go and look at all those tents. Make sure they're anchored down. Talk about the food trucks, fireworks, open flames. So we just kind of educate them on not refilling their generators while it's running or hot, because they'll do it.
oh, I just thought of something. We just revamped our burning permit. It used to include a whole list of things we required a burn permit for, which was a campfire, burn barrel, you name it. But what we found is the code only allows us to permit bonfires. So anything other than a bonfire, if they got a little pit in their backyard burning something and somebody calls you guys on it, don't look for a permit. They're not going to have one. Just make sure they're not burning trash and they're being safe in the way they're using it. However, if it is a nuisance type thing where there's smoke's going in the neighbors, you can ask them to put it out. You do have that authority based on the city code of ordinances. So if you get any kickback, call the ladies, they can come enforce that. But you won't see the permits you used to see as far as the burns go.
I got a call from Engine 4 just a while ago. That's what I was showing J-Man here. Engine 4 ran a homeless guy that has apparently got tarps as a sidewall for his little structure, his little hut, and he's using plywood. But then he's taken a filing cabinet, a 2-drawer filing cabinet, and turned that into a wood stove. And I've got pictures of that I'll show you. And then he's run a pipe up through.
What?
Gotta get to it.
He's run that up and out, the exterior, but it was still obviously a fire hazard. The plastic tarps are up against the filing cabinet that's extremely hot. The sidewalls of this filing cabinet are burnt with holes in it. So I had him extinguish it because of the unsafety of it. Yes, he can have a fire for warmth, but the way he's got this is very, very dangerous.
You have a tent permit?
No tent permit. But if they want to do exterior fires to stay warm, then obviously by all means that. But this, no, not this. So, go ahead.
That's crazy. Unsafe structures, what do y'all think, an unsafe structure would classify as? Well, some of the incidents we ran a car in a building, what would you think that we would need to be out there for? If it hit a building? Nobody?
Got a support wall.
Like bearing walls, what about electrical outlets? Or, if it, say this one electrical outlet right here was, affected by it, pushed it in. If we can isolate just this one, area, or just that little room right there, the living room, and especially this time of the year, if we're not pulling a meter, we try to keep the heat on. But if we can isolate that one room of origin right there until they can get it fixed, we don't need to pull the meter. But we can mark it unsafe, and we'll talk. I think that doesn't read it. We don't condemn the buildings, but we do mark them unsafe, and we take a picture, we take a picture of it. We let them know it's unsafe to be in here, but we cannot stop them from going back in there. Okay, now if it's a lot of damage to it, pipes busted, you got water running through all the electrical, the lights and all the electrical, that's gonna be unsafe, and we're gonna, probably have them relocated. Red Cross does not take care of them. They will take care of structure fire victims or natural disasters. So, but something on a broken pipe, water running through, they're not gonna place them. So they'll have to, we'll let them know that it's unsafe and that electrical needs to be checked out before they do start turning things on. So we will have the meter pull on something like that, which requires permitting and that kind of thing to get it back in order. Let's see. But if we can isolate it, that's the main thing here is we don't want to put them completely out if we can isolate a small issue.
But I know like in Station 52's territory, they have like some apartments that are very shady. And like they have a lot of electrical issues that's created small fires within utility closets and all that kind of stuff. And it just is truly unsafe for the occupants. That's the
I
area.
thought you meant like they had a lot of trees, shade.
Oh, but something like that you see is like a fire hazard and it's a life safety issue. You can contact us and we can come and do some code enforcement on that. And if we see that, hey, you know what? Because a lot of times when there's fires, they just hire some no-name person that's not even a licensed electrician to come in here and do a quick fix on the electrical components. And so it never gets fixed appropriately, which is a life safety issue for the occupants. And they seem to, they go nowhere when they complain. So if we come out, we can have that meter pulled. We then submit an inter-office referral form, which attaches a lot of information on that, and it goes to downtown building inspectors, who will come out and do the inspection and do the condemnation and make sure that the appropriate electrical work does get completed on the structure so it is safe for them to come back. Yeah. So that's just another thing. If you get out there and you notice something's like, this is bad stuff. Like, call us and let us come out and take a peek and see if we can go further to make sure it gets taken care of.
So do y'all need to go walk around the tower right there?
Well, I think the electrical's good.
Definitely
because-
unsafe.
Yes.
Definitely unsafe. We're probably not even safe sitting in here right now.
Probably not.
Imagine, I just walked by and saw that guy up in that bug, and imagine there's some OSHA violation somewhere out there. I try not to be.
Yeah, it's not going well.
A little bit.
Yeah.
It's better value, not a little bit, it's better value.
Yeah, so at night, when y'all get these, don't think you're gonna get an on-call inspector, because that's gonna be us, just call us. There's no county on-call inspectors anymore. It's up to us to turn it into their department in the morning. We have pictures they can look at, so they have access to the pictures. We can show them the damage, broken walls and electrical structure damage and all that stuff, so, but yeah. So if y'all need somebody, don't think the county's gonna come out, it's gonna be us. We posted unsafe, the occupant has 10 business days to contact developmental services downtown and start getting the appropriate permits. Like I say, we can post it, but we can't, and tell them not to go in, but we can't enforce them not going in. Okay.
All right, smoke alarm program. You guys are definitely well aware of this program. We've had some questions, and I'm assuming, that's fine, I'm good. The guys in the other classes have thrown some questions our way that they'd like to see us kind of field to help with this process. I think they're wanting the smoke alarms sent out to them by lunchtime the day of, and not wait till 5 o'clock in the afternoon, because I think it makes it difficult, obviously, for you guys. Huh?
5 o'clock be early.
So we're gonna work on that, because obviously we know that there's issues there. But at the same time, you guys have 3 days to take care of this. If you don't get it taken care of, like, if you get the smoke alarm, make the phone call and say, hey, I'm with the fire department, we got this request. When is a good time for us to come out? Because there's been some issues that has gone beyond us straight to council and downtown, and it comes back and there's issues that's brought up there. So at least make an attempt to call that person, and if they say today's not a good day, but tomorrow is a better day, then obviously take note of that and pass it off to the oncoming shift.
I'll make a point about that.
Yeah, and respond back to that request that you get, that you did make an attempt to call that person. You spoke with that person, this is what they said, just so we have a record. So if they come back and say, well, they never called, it covers you guys.
I send an email. I'm sending emails.
Yeah,
and
no, that's
because
perfect.
These,
Yeah, that's
these
perfect.
people out here, they'll call you, worry you to death, and then they won't let you come out there and put the smoke detector up.
Right.
So I send an email to my supervisor, document that.
That's exactly right, and that's what we're asking, just to make sure that they don't come back and say, well, the fire department never called, and like the captain just said, yeah, I did call, here's the time that I called, and you're covered.
And also copy the company officers on the next 2 shifts too, so that everybody's in the loop, so, and then somebody let them know when it's done, so that,
I think the other thing we need to make sure too is, if for some reason, whatever it is, if we ignore it or whatever, but something happens and that address ends up with a fire, especially, hopefully not a fatality fire or something like that. I don't think any of us wants the potential liability coming back and say,
Right.
they requested a smoke detector, but we couldn't get out there to do it. And they got a fire and they lost a kid. A family.
That's not our liability though, it's a service we provide though, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear
It's
that.
not our liability though, it's still a responsibility.
But we
It's a
provide that
we provide.
service to the city of Greensboro residents, and so if they request that service and we don't fulfill that service, then it is. Because like we have GODs and stuff like that, guidelines that we offer that service. If we never offered that service, then yes, but since we offer that service
It's
to
our
the
liability.
citizens, it can fall back on you if you never
Yeah,
made the
and
contact.
there's a difference between completing the request and making an attempt to help them
Yes.
with the request. Like, it says, as long as you're documenting that you made the attempt, you can't make them let you in the house and put the thing up. But if you document it well, they'll save you every time, so.
Yeah, it was said this morning in the class, and this was by an upper chief, that if they say that 10 o'clock tonight's the best time for me, chief said 10 o'clock tonight, you'd go out and put it up. Because of the fact that if they didn't have one working, or they didn't even have one in the house, and then something bad happens, then that would be a liability.
I think that, back to Charlie's point, if they say, yeah, I don't get off work till 8 o'clock at night, and then whether it's convenient for us, y'all to go out there, or whoever to go out there at that time, that's when we take the liability to say, hey, we were here 24 hours, unless we're on a call. There's no excuse for us not to go out there and put a smoke alarm.
That's what he said this
Yeah,
morning.
that's what chief was saying.
I think everybody should understand that for sure.
It's just, we've had like 2 in the last month where they call us out for smoke alarm, but really they want a CO detector,
Yeah.
and they get irate.
Really?
When we had 2 of them get irate that we don't put up CO detectors,
Yeah,
you know,
we don't.
and stuff like that.
Right.
Well, we're gonna try to streamline that going forward. Other classes have like addressed questions that we need to ask before we send it to you guys through an MCT message or whatever, such as like, do you have cathedral ceilings? Is it a carbon monoxide detector? Is it a hardwire? Like questions like
Yeah.
that, so when you get there and they like say, well, I need a hardwire. Well, we don't do hardwire, but if they provide you with one that you just can snap into the original one, then you can do that. We are not to like touch electrical components and stuff like
Okay.
that. You have to refer them to a licensed electrician for that. But if they can provide you with one where you can just snap it in, we can do that. And so we've compiled questions like that you guys say this would help us significantly if you can ask this before we even get sent out there. So when we show up, we actually are there to do the job.
I think, that's a good point, because the combination CO smoke
Yeah.
alarms are so prevalent now, and the department this size that's offering this kind of program, there's no reason to keep buying only smoke alarms. We need to look down the road and start buying combinations for you guys. But
We'll follow is, just clarify, like, rental house, we hear the smoke detector beeping,
put one
you
up.
put one up. Put one up, don't even wait, okay.
Honestly, when it comes to that, like before the occupant moves into a rental house, that owner is supposed to have it prepared for that renter to move in. And then once that renter moves in, then it's the renter's responsibility to maintain those smoke detectors, because it's their personal space at that point. They can get with the owner and say, hey, I need a new smoke detector, and then that owner can come in whenever they allow him to do that. But if that never happens and they request one for us, then we are to help them with it.
Yeah, the other thing about that is if that's one thing that the renter is not getting from the person they're renting from, there's probably some other substandard housing violations there. So if you know it's a rental property and you had to go put a smoke alarm up, let us know, because we can send that to minimum housing, and they go out there and do an inspection, and they'll probably find more things wrong.
So we have I guess talking about the vaulted ceilings, we have a neighborhood, it's townhomes, they're individually owned, probably $4 million townhomes. And they hammer us at the time change, probably, I'd say between 20 and 25, every time the time changes. The hardest ones to put up are on the vaulted ceiling, but they've been gracious enough to provide us with a huge step ladder. Their maintenance man. It's their maintenance man for this facility or this complex that goes around, and it's pretty much like, hey, make sure you guys call the fire department and get them to come out and put up your,
Yeah.
You shouldn't get that anymore, because
Yeah.
we're gonna have that question asked, we do not let them know, cathedral ceilings, we don't do this. It's a liability, especially when you start dragging your own ladders in there. They don't have ladders, messing up the floors, and, because it happened,
Yeah, I mean,
so,
Yeah, if they're
That's a lot of
calling you
the
guys direct still for that kind of thing,
so.
you need to say we can't do cathedral ceilings, and then you can forward it to us, and we can field the complaint, because I know they'll be not happy.
Yeah.
Eagle's nest.
You got a question?
It was probably 2 years ago.
No.
Over in 21's territory, we had this elderly couple. They had ADT hardwired. They had like 7,000 of them in there. They all went bad at the same time. And we put up our little smoke detector, but they wanted the other ones. And I was like, I don't know what we can do. And they're like, well, we'll order them. you get them and you put them in, and you're saying no, but you just said for us to put them in.
I say, I would
I wasn't
personally,
comfortable doing it because it's hardwired.
I put what we have is what we should be responsible for installing.
Okay.
If it, I mean, you guys are all smart. If it's a plug and play and you're on the step ladder for a
This was
80-year-old
like a
lady.
discontinued model that we looked on Amazon with them, and it's,
Yeah, the thing is, I wouldn't want to take the liability of installing something and not work. But we know a battery powered smoke alarm is gonna be okay.
And also, Jim, regardless of the detector type or if it's hardwired or whatnot, those detector lives are only 10 years.
Right.
So you can actually pull that detector down and be like, hey, this thing was built in 2001.
that's what we did. So
You know,
one time,
so
they're
just-
all bad.
Yeah. I mean, I had the Marriott, I've been CO in East Florida Marriott. The entire Marriott has brand new smoke detectors because they were 19 years old.
Any issues with disconnecting the hardwired ones, pushing the wires up there, throwing the battery ones up over them?
Or
Because that's what
beside
most of the people.
Beside of them, like installing what you
I
have
would-
beside of like
Same,
a battery.
Same outlet, because I mean, that's what the people want. Most people that.
They don't want another one messing up your.
Right.
They don't give a crap about putting another hardwired one up there. They just want a smoke detector. But then they also don't want another smoke detector beside a smoke detector. But they're not gonna go buy a hardwired.
Here's what I would do in that instance. I would say, you got two choices. I can put the smoke alarm right beside this one, or you can call an electrician and put this kind in for you.
Yep.
I wouldn't start monkeying with the wiring and covering up stuff, because that puts us back in a gray area.
And we're only, like, if we obey what we've promised to the city or whatever, we're
Right.
only required to put up 2 per floor. So that's another way you can tell them, like, you know, the city, according to our DOGs, we put up 2 per floor. So like when you have instances, it's like multiple and you gotta change them all out and stuff, I mean, that's kind of out of the scope of practice. We're getting out of our lane at that point, you know what I'm saying? So you can always fall back to this, like our protocol for those, in support of like argument of people wanting more and stuff like that.
One other thing, because I know I've heard it back when I was covering before Chief Ray came in. If someone walks into your station and asks for a smoke alarm in your district, don't send them here to, or tell them to go do a submittal through our office. Just take care of it. You guys are, everybody on this department that's a captain is perfectly capable of scheduling and taking care of that stuff yourself, so.
But you do want us to install them.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Gotcha. And all the mean straight, if they have their own smoke alarms, but they want us to install them, you want us to install our smoke alarms, not the ones that they give us.
That's, yes.
So just refuse that, say we can put ours in, but we can't put yours.
We're not there to be an installer. We're there to provide them a smoke alarm
Okay.
or a battery.
To Darren's point, where you get that repetitive townhome section where old lady says, "Oh, you're getting yours, come do mine,"
Right.
and that's not the only territory that it happens in.
Right.
But anyway, Energizer makes a lithium 9-volt battery, and we're logging this stuff in Firehouse. And if we click a box that says put a 10-year battery in, if it comes up again, now we've already given you 10-year batteries. You won't need to call us again until 2029.
Right, exactly.
So that's out there.
Document it and move on.
Get that call
That's something else, you know, that's, unfortunately, when people call in, we don't have a database to say, oh, these, we've already given them a 10-year battery, so it's hard to vet that kind of stuff, you know?
We get good at it if it was available. I can tell you because of like I know where he's
I
talking
agree,
about.
I agree.
And over in 43, I mean, you'd be like, well, wait, Miss Smith, we gave you some,
Right.
you know.
All right, you guys good with that?
Sure.
Knox boxes. A lot of you guys, I know, have called and asked about the Knox box request. If somebody in your territory says, hey, or you go to them and say, look, we keep coming out here, but you don't have a Knox box, here's what would be beneficial for you, and explain the Knox box program to them. Just have them go to knoxbox.com, and they can look on there. The cost is between $300 and $400. Make sure that they pick the correct state and that they pick the correct fire department, and it'll say Greensboro Fire Department on there. I think there's one that says Greensboro / Summerfield. They don't want that. It just needs to be Greensboro Fire Department.
when they get the Knox box, they can have somebody put it on their building or wherever they're wanting to put it. Whether they call you to come out there and stick the keys in, and you call us and say, hey, we done this, then you can update go back. Or if we go out and install the keys, we can make notification that, hey, we put some keys in the Knox box that you're in your territory, so you should have a set. And make sure you update your pretty plans to show that the Knox box has been installed. The things that we'd like to all see in those are keys for alarm rooms, mechanical and sprinkler rooms, special rooms that
Special keys to reset the fire alarm.
Gate
Access boxes, anything that will help you get into that place, like, there's good keys to have in those Knox boxes. And the owner shall be responsible for providing all up-to-date keys in the vault at all times. When district inspectors go out and do an inspection on these properties, they are supposed to take those keys out, try them, and make sure that they fit. And when y'all do the pre-plans, make sure that the keys are right, because sometimes those keys get changed out and we don't have the right keys, or the keys to those locks. So when you're pre-planning, you might want to take a peek too. If you see that they're not fitting, you can tell the property owner then, hey, you need to upfit these keys, they're not working anymore. Or you can contact us and we can get in touch with them and have that worked out.
Can I say something, Jim?
Yeah.
All right. Everybody in here probably knows I do the majority of the COs for the city. When it comes to Knox boxes, when me and Ben Larson lock these keys up in a Knox box, we're usually putting the keys that the contractor gives us. So 3 or 4 months down the road, they like to have Stanley Security come out and put new locks in them. So if you run into that situation on a newly CO'd building, definitely get in touch with our office so that we can get those updated keys, or if you guys can get them, that needs to be fixed ASAP. Also, another thing too is gates. We're requiring key switch Knox boxes where if you put the key in, turn it to the right, gates open. One thing that I'm doing now is I've got two places I've already done it. Brady Train over here off of 16th Street, you got a key switch Knox box. I'm actually getting to put another one in where if you put the key in, every single gate to the facility opens up. Same way for Carroll Bellmead downtown. You put the key in, all the gates should open. Okay. Is there anybody in here that's still using the siren activated gate thing? I know in 21's territory, Haley Village used to be like that. That is no longer acceptable.
We got one.
Battleground North still has it.
Battleground North and whatnot. But you're gonna update them
We
all
need to fix that. Do what?
All of them gonna be updated to what they're not.
Yes. Yes.
How long before do we have any? We got several places.
So our district inspectors are slowly but surely working through it. I know that over there in Darren's territory, over off of Bridford Parkway, there's a couple apartments already that's been upfitted. Their gates. What's the one right there at Bridford and Hilltop?
Lakes.
The lakes, when you put the keys in those gates open. That used to be siren activated. And I was doing a CO in the clubhouse. I was like, this is no longer acceptable. And for me to CO your building, I'm holding you up on your gates. They had the keys in there in about 3 days.
Okay.
So, because I remember when I was at 21, we go to Haley's Village, we'd run into queue, the siren, the whole 9 yards at 4 o'clock in the morning. You ain't getting in. So.
Yeah, if you run across those, just call us. We'll
Yeah.
go handle it for you.
city ordinances, burning leaves, it's that time of year. Of course, you know, they can't do that. If they're doing it, they have to put it out. As far as the fire pits and campfires go, those, as Captain Robertson was saying, those don't require a permit, but they have to be within the size, a 3 foot in diameter by 2 foot in height, and at least 25 foot away from a structure. Make sure that they have a way to extinguish the fire and that there's no other combustibles around it. The portable outdoor fireplaces, they are permitted. Bonfires, those require a permit. Those are your bonfires you're going to see at like Guilford College and places like that, that they actually have to come in and pull permits for those. Fire dancing performers, I know y'all have those all up in your districts. As a matter of fact, did you go do that one today?
I did it yesterday.
Okay.
And they're doing some kind of act at Cultural Arts Center downtown, and these girls were doing this little fire dance thing, so I had to go there and, God, it was tough, but I had to watch them do it before. Make sure they were doing it safe. If y'all ever run up in this is a good point though, if you guys ever run up on a call on a fire alarm somewhere and you see some thing going on where they're doing open flames inside the building, check for a permit, because they're supposed to have it on site. If they don't, you need to let the girls know, because we need to stop that immediately.
Definitely. Any fires that are offensive, like the smoke, if you've got a neighbor that's calling in, my neighbor's over here burning and I can't handle the smoke. And you go out there, put the fire out. It's a nuisance to them. And if they light it up again and you're getting another call back out there, have PD come out, because then that's an issue that PD will have to deal with.
So if they got a pit in their backyard and they're 25 feet over from the building, they met all the codes, still extinguish the fire if the neighbor complains?
If the neighbor's complaining, yes.
If the neighbor's complaining?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we got the call, so it was a
smoke
complaint.
Try to be diplomatic about it. I mean, just don't go over and
Just don't put a
talk to them and reason with them, say, look, you know, this is this is a neighbor thing, this is not a fire department thing.
Be like, look, I hate to do this, I don't want to do this, but your neighbor, you know, we're getting.
The fact that we got the call means it's a complaint.
Yeah, Station 10's got one of those.
And sometimes people just call because they're riding by and they're like, hey, we saw a fire in the backyard.
Yeah, it may not be like a
And
neighbor
if that's the
thing.
case, then let them keep rolling with what they have, because that was just a concerned person thinking there was a fire that nobody was around. You know, but now if you've got somebody calling and saying, well, the smoke's bothering me, then yeah.
But it would say that in the notes, that's something we
I mean, you would hope it would, but
we wouldn't assume that.
you wouldn't assume that.
Okay.
You
Right.
should get us
We don't expect you to go canvass the neighborhood.
No.
Is this thing bothering you?
Because I want to put it out.
And don't go out there and, you know, I'm saying this off the record. Don't go out there with a tape measure.
You're on the record, man.
It's on the record. Oh, never mind. I'll let you fill in the blank.
So you are retiring in a couple months?
Yeah, I need to change that, that's all.
Is that the old one? Okay.
Yeah, we're just saying burn permit. There's something really.
They know what they can do.
They know what they were supposed to do and what they're not. Is the new permits like that,
Well,
like it?
that one says all these require a permit, so we just need to give you the new one for the slide.
So this is an old permit that talks about the outdoor cooking and things of that nature. But what we were looking at is like right in here, things that they shouldn't be burning, like big old tire piles and wires and plastic and things of that.
wires.
Yeah. So just make sure that they're not out there burning what they shouldn't be burning.
Yeah, most of the bonfires are gonna be like the high school pep rallies and stuff, where we're gonna sign the engine company for standby anyway. So there should be very rare that we're gonna issue a permit for a bonfire that the fire department's not already on site, so just keep that in mind.
Fire alarms. This isn't a fire alarm class, we're just gonna hit on basic fire alarm stuff, which you can look at on the fire alarm control panel. Brainstorm some things. So this is the priority of the fire alarm systems. As you can see, like, it goes in order, and we see supervisor in trouble at the bottom. So normally they're not like our problematic signals, but can be. There's different types of initiating devices. Manual fire alarm pull stations, smoke detectors, heat detectors, video-based smoke or fire detection and gas detectors. So there's multiple different kind of initiating devices out there. The fire alarm control unit receives a signal from the initiating device. It processes that signal, and then it activates the appropriate alarm notification, sending it out. Okay, and so it can activate components such as the HVAC system and other smoke control systems. The one thing we wanted to point out is most of them do have a memory in them, and so from a fire investigative standpoint, like that memory can be important to us if we run a structure fire to a property who has a fire alarm control unit to it. It's okay to silence them, but we're just asking, don't go in and push buttons if you don't know what you're pushing, because you can erase the memory that we may need to point us to our room of origin of whatever the first initiating device showed on that panel to direct us to that room. So again, silence them are okay, but just if there is a structure fire in there, we may pull memory off of that alarm panel that can help us do a better investigation. There's different appliances to those: the horn, speaker, bell, strobe lights, text, and vibration. Speaking back to the fire alarm, I don't know why I forget about this, but sometimes you get deaf people in your district. If they need a smoke detector, put them in touch with us, because we can put them in touch with somebody who can't. We don't provide those special smoke detectors, but we can get them forward. Like, we can give them the appropriate information to point them in that direction. So what is your fire panel trying to tell you? This is just very brief information. Supervisory usually is the yellow light. It can mean that the valve is closed to OSMR or the PIV. And so what we're asking is that maybe, go put your eye on that and make sure it's fully open. Don't go cranking on it to close it, but make sure it is fully open, because sometimes if people are carrying luggage or if somebody tampers with it and they just give it like a little quarter of a crank, it can it can make a signal come out of supervisory signal. So that's one place you can check to make sure it's fully open. If it wasn't and you fully open it, you possibly can get a reset on the system and call it a day. Trouble is a yellow light. It's usually a broken wire, ground fault, failed device, battery low voltage, a loss of AC or loss of communications. Generally, they don't get a reset or whatever. The trouble system is not normally a big issue. However, you want to make sure that it didn't lose communication. So one thing you can do, or have the property manager do, is let them get in touch with their monitoring company and make sure that communication is still open. Should there be a fire, can you signal and get fire department en route? And if they say yes, then it's being monitored, then fire watch is not needed for those instances. Fire alarm, red light, that's the big boy. Water flow has tripped, manual pull station activated, smoke detector has sent smoke, special hazard system pressure switch has tripped. Sometimes these are just basic. They go off because somebody pulled a pull station. So if you reset those, you may can get a reset on your system. Do y'all want to add anything to that stuff?
No, I was just thinking the reasons why they would be out there on an alarm. 90% of the time you get dispatched by a monitoring company, so the communications is probably not a non-issue, but it may be an issue where the alarm goes off, somebody there calls 911 and it doesn't dispatch through a monitoring service. So if you see a trouble and it says communication failure or phone line, just check back with communications. How did you receive this alarm? And if they say it was from a private phone or cell, that tells you right then that the monitoring service is not working and the fire watch needs to be maintained. A fire watch for something like that is different than if the entire sprinkler system is shut off, because really the only thing not working is that piece of the puzzle that calls 911. So that fire watch may just be someone sitting by the panel. When the panel goes off, call 911. It could be that simple. So.
Again, we hit on this earlier, but we do not put them in test mode and we don't put them in a no response. That's the property representative. They can deal with that, but we as a fire department, we don't do that. The one thing you can suggest to them is, like, say it's a smoke detector or a duct detector, if it's given an issue or whatever, you can tell them that they can just put that one component in test mode, but not the whole system, and that might leave the system open to be able to acknowledge fire alarm and to get that pushed out. That's just an option, not for you to do, but for you to tell them, that's possible. They can work that out with their monitoring company. Generally, whenever they put them in test mode, depending on who monitors their system, it may be for 3 hours, it may be for 8 hours. But as soon as that time frame is up, when that alarm goes back online, then you probably get dispatched again if that problem hasn't been resolved. So you might go back to that same property because their time is allotted. If it's in the night, of course, and they can't get somebody out there to repair what needs to be fixed, you can tell them whenever it's getting close to their time being up, they can call and put that item back in test mode for a little bit longer until that person can come and fulfill the need of that. And so that's just another way to buy you some time, keep you from having to go back out there.
We got a phone call this morning. I can't remember which engine company it was. Anyway, they ran a couple of fire alarms in the middle of the night in reference to a duct detector. If you having issues with a duct detector, tell them to call me because we do have the authority to make them supervisory. Where if the duct detector does go into alarm, it won't actually dispatch the fire trucks, but it will make notification to the property representative that, hey, your duct detector's going off and your HVAC system is not working, because that's the whole purpose of a duct detector, is to make sure the heat and air conditioning shuts down in case of a fire. So, but I had a conversation with a fire alarm company this morning, giving them the go ahead on.
Is this on Bedford?
That's where it was. Yeah, Ripper Parkway.
Yeah, that's one of our frequent flyers and floor, is anybody here from 50?
Floor and decor or something like that.
Floor and decor.
Yeah.
Oh, that wasn't me to talk to you this morning. We dealt with it.
We've been dealing with that issue with the property manager, so hopefully that'll be remedied soon.
If you ever get asked for, how do you get a fire report? This is one way you can tell people. Anybody have any questions about fire alarms? We're keeping it moving. Am I good? Okay. So you can refer them to greensboro-nc.gov. And once they get to that website, they can type in PERT in the search engine, the PERT request, and the first link that pulls up is the link that they will click on. Once they click on that, it'll take them to this page, and they just put in some very simple, quick information in regards to what they are in need of. Once they submit it, this hits City Legal. So they don't automatically get their fire report. City Legal looks at what they're wanting from our fire report, and they look at it to see if, yes, this needs to be pushed out, or we gotta wait, it's still being investigated, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes you guys may put in personal detail, like using your name or somebody else's name. What City Legal will do is they will blend out that so the general public does not know who that is, so it keeps them from calling you, like finding who you are and calling you and asking you questions or whatever. So that's something that City Legal does to protect us. So this is just a way, if you ever get asked how to get it, that's what you can tell them. They do sometimes, Dana, what she will do is give them like just the cause and origin section. So not like this is for like a full-blown report, but if they just need like a supplement to provide for the insurance company saying, yes, I had a fire, I need to go ahead and start getting the claim going. What she does is she goes into our main narrative page, what you guys write, and where we attach ours. We'll go over that a little bit more. And she gives that to them for the insurance company saying, hey, yes, there was a fire here. And they can get just a supplement of what happened, but not the full-blown report without going through public downtown. In firehouse reporting, the fire tab in that, generally you guys do that, but if you don't do it and we see it open, then we can fill in those spots, but normally you guys go ahead and take care of that. But what we do is we go back in there and we make sure that lines up with what we see as the cause and origin if we're there investigating that fire. Before we change it, we will talk to you and say, hey, why did you put that? Just to kind of see. You may have seen something we didn't, and we can talk and kind of discuss what's happening and what made you think that. But we want our reports, yours and ours, to congeal as much as possible if we are investigating that fire.
And you guys are real good, like a lot of times if we run calls together, we'll talk about it before you leave the scene, so that way it does match up. But if for whatever reason, later on, when you get back to the station, if you have questions, by all means call me and we'll walk through it to make sure that we both have the same thing. But you guys are really good about being spot on with this section.
The next section right here, you want to start seeing, if you haven't already, we are going to start appending, our narrative in with your narrative on the main incident narrative page. So if you go in there and you see Part 33's already put a cause and origin narrative on there, you think, well, I ain't got to do my part. Yes, you still do. Like, just append it and put yours in there. We may do ours first, or you may go ahead and do yours, and we may append it and put ours later. But if you see our cause and origin report where you typically just see your narrative, it's okay. Like, that's what they're requiring us to do, and it helps Dana to get them a cause and origin and to get the fact findings of what you find out. The only thing you won't see is the personal information. This was done last year, so things have changed since then, but there's no personal information like from the people that we put in there. It's just a basic cause and origin investigation, because she cannot get into our arson tab, and I don't think you guys can either. So she can't pull that information, so she's asked us to put it here. So it'll be with y'all's. And I do want to mention, whenever we do our full-blown fire reports, we snipped this page because according to the 921 manual, it's a piece of evidence that we need to put in our report. So what you say in that incident narrative will be seen in our full report. So if we ever go to court, like you guys most likely will be coming with us, whoever is in command of that scene, to state your facts as well.
So make sure it's very detailed.
Yeah, like I wouldn't do a two-liner. Like I would explain exactly what happened when you pulled up to whenever like it was done, and then leave the cause and origin up to us. The very last thing you can say is like, if we're there to investigate the fire, car 33 arrived and conducted a cause and origin investigation. So you don't even have to get into that thing. Like you just need to state what you did by the time you pulled up, what you saw, and all that stuff into that page. Any questions on that? I think maybe take a break between the two.
Yeah. You guys good with us just rolling, and if you need,
There's like a couple more slides.
good deal.
You still gotta wait on training.
So, the area of origin, the processing, this is, I appreciate your help on it. You guys do a great job helping me out. If at all possible, minimize the damage to the room of origin, which you guys do really good. I understand, you know, you have to do your overhaul and you have to make sure there's no extension and what have you. But if we can leave a room in place and the readings are good for any of us to come in, then definitely leave it and let us do our photographs, and then you can go back as we're starting to do the delayering, and we can start moving things then. And we'll definitely ask for your help to move things and assist us with that. Yes, it does take a while because we have to photograph, delayer. Our reports have to be very detailed, and we have to be able to explain what we find. So as we take a layer, we're going to photograph because we have to make sure the documentation is correct. And we're also looking for fire patterns and any other effects on the structure. So like right here, the plant that's on your right is the same picture that's on your left. If it can stay in that position and you don't need to throw it out, then leave it in place, because that's an important key part to this investigation, because that's our fuel load. So leave it in place, don't throw it out. Again, preserve it, and don't, you know, jerk off walls and cabinets and stuff. If they can stay in place, and then we can remove them as we're going. Origin is where, the cause is what, the classification is why. So, without our fuel loads, we may not be able to classify or determine what caused the fire. It makes our job a little bit harder. So if you can, like again, repetitive, I know, we'll leave it in place, because that can help us determine the area of origin and the cause of the fire. We had a fire over off of Loblolly, and the power strip was part of the area of origin, and so it being left in place, us coming through and finding what was left of it, we can tag it. So if the insurance company, if it comes back and say that power strip failed, and we tag it, the insurance company, they have the deep pockets, they can send it off and have it x-rayed, and that way we can see if something inside that component failed. But again, insurance companies does that, so we tag it to leave it in place for that very reason. So if you don't know what you're doing with the power strip or anything about it, definitely don't go in there and start maneuvering it and opening it up. Kitchen fires, that's just where I came from, as a matter of fact. These right here are becoming more often that people fall asleep. They have fried chicken, they have french fries, they just got off work, or they're high, or they're drunk, and they sit down and they fall asleep, and next thing you know, we got ourselves a kitchen fire. If you can go in and put the fire out and kind of leave everything as is, like where all the pots were, that's great. Or if you just need to move the source off the stove and turn the knob on the stove to off, that's fine. Just let us know that you turned it off and which one, and if you can recall, was it sitting on low, was it sitting on high, because we need to document that. But definitely don't go in there once the fire's over and start turning knobs. The stems that run out of those stoves, even though the plastic knobs burn off, those stems, if they're angled, we can use like a piece of paper
exactly, and set it to the side. So if it's angled like this, I can go to the next apartment unit over, or I can Google what the stove is, and I can say, okay, if it's turned to the left, it was sitting on 8 or 9. If it's turned to the right, then it was probably on 1 or 2. And by all means, if we tag this stove, please make sure everybody leaves it in place. Make sure that you tell the homeowner, again, hey, just remember, the investigators tag that, so don't go in there maneuvering it, because your insurance company will want to see this. If we feel like it's something more than just a cooking fire. Vehicle fires, engine 8, we had one the other night, and so I'll touch on that as much as I can. When you guys get dispatched, we get dispatched as well, and it comes in as a car fire. And you roll up on scene and you're like, we got a fully involved car fire. Well, in my mind, our minds, we're already thinking you have the one in the center. Front to back, everything's burning. But then we roll up and we've got nothing but an engine compartment. We're already thinking in our heads on things that we need to be doing and people we need to be contacting. So when you pull up, make sure that if it's just an engine compartment, that you're like, we have a vehicle fire in the engine compartment. Or if it's in the passenger compartment, let us know that. Or if it's literally fully involved, then by all means say that. The other night, Engine 8 wrote a call. We was about 3:30 in the morning. They got a call for a car fire. And Captain Thomas come over on the TAC channel. He's like, 33, are you en route? 10-4, I was praying he would say, oh, it was just rolling down the road, you can go ahead and cancel. But no, it rolled off the road. It was down by a creek in the woods and had been set on fire in the trunk. So I get there, and just so happened Captain Thomas was like, you need to access it from the top side. It'd be easier to get to. So I see two units, PD units at the end of the road, and I rolled up to them thinking they were my PD units, and they were in the area for 2 suspects that were seen in a car, and just so happened they were my suspects. So we got the Christmas miracle and had the evidence still on scene, the suspects on scene, and so we made 2 arrests and possibly a 3rd. So good job, Engine 8. They did a really good job extinguishing the fire, preserving the evidence. They left everything in place. They didn't touch anything. So they done a great job. So kudos to Engine 8 for doing that. If a car is in motion rolling down the road, they're unspecified mechanical. I mean, they're riding down the road, engine compartment fire. In the GOGs, you guys are well capable of making that origin and cause determination. There's no need for us to come out there on that. Unless you've got a car sitting on the side of the road that's been abandoned, and all of a sudden you got a fire in it. That's a little bit different. But if you have the owner of the car, they were like, we were driving down the road, our car started smoking, then it caught fire. We're not going to do anything any different than you guys are going to do. So something like that, we shouldn't need to continue on. Unless you get there and the hair stands up on the back of your neck and you're like, something's just uneasy about this, by all means, definitely call us. But I'm confident in you guys. And again, call either on the TAC channel if you'd rather talk on the cell phone, which I'm good with. We can definitely talk about it. All right, who wants to next?
Spoliation, she already talked about the different things on the fire scene when we're going through debris and things not to damage and to move. So before we enter, we already, and begins to move, things that should be considered with the willful destruction of evidence or the failure to preserve potential evidence for another's use pending or future litigation, loss, destruction, or material alteration to an object or document that is evidence or potential evidence in a legal proceeding by one who has the responsibility for its preservation. We have to take this into consideration. We do. We're not capable of, or should not, unless you're in a very good field and you can take something apart and you know what you're doing. We suggest you don't take anything apart. Okay. If you feel like it was due to this thing, like it says here, don't take it apart. Just say, hey, we think it started here. Because the insurance company, they have a lot more money, so they can send these parts, stoves, electrical cords, and they will send them an X-ray. An X-ray them. So they'll go through there and they can see where there was malfunction in here. But if we've already tampered with this, then if it's something that they might could have gotten a lot of money off of because that failed and, you know, caused damage. And they might come after us because we spoiled, the, evidence there. So it is possible that something may go to X-ray. Let's see. And document, you know, if you do think it was something, you can document that, or turning the knobs like she said. Just tell us, we did turn that knob to get it off, but we don't want to go and mess with anything else.
And just be mindful too, like I mean, I would like to know this, so that's why I'm gonna share it with y'all, but if you ever did have to go to court for a situation of a fire scene that you put the fire out at, they have specialists there that are gonna go against you. So they're gonna have thermal imaging camera specialists, they've already read our GOGs, all that kind of stuff, and they're gonna question you to get you to fail on one of those components. So say you spoliated a scene and you were very destructive in the house or whatnot, and a lawyer goes against you, he's going to use his specialist to do it. So some of the questions he may say would be like, I understand that you use a thermal imaging camera. Do you know what kind you use? What are the specifications for that? What is the heat? What is it? He asks you all these crazy questions, and then he might say, okay, did you use it during your fire scene? If you say yes, can you tell me how you used it? So then he might, you know, you go into using it, and he's like, okay, so whenever you put that thermal imaging camera up there and you're looking for fire and heat damage through there and you saw that it was 0, why did you open it up right here? And why is there no charm patterns in this whole ceiling right here? Like, what was you doing at that point? Like, that's just to kind of put your mind, like, everything you do, just be able to explain why you did it. That's all, and document why you did it. Like, we have our priorities, and you go by our priorities, and just be able to explain what you did and why you did it, and you'll be good to go. But if you do something that you really can't explain why you did it, like, be careful. Like, you're stepping on ice at that moment. Just be careful with what you do, and just be able to explain is the best way. That's kind of how they train us when we go on trial. Like, when we take these classes and stuff, if we ever go, which I'm sure there will be time, it's years. That's how they equip us to be able to stand. And so I'm trying to equip you guys as well, so if you're ever subject to that, you'll be ready, like, you know, hopefully, and we can do it together.
You know, a lot of times you go in there and you start doing your overhaul, and you might be throwing stuff out the window. The TV, you think it started, it's on fire, you're going to throw it out the window, or a mattress. Well, at the end of the day, we're going to ask you to bring that back in because we got to recreate the scene. So just be mindful. If it doesn't need to be completely thrown out, or, you know, just extinguish it and leave it sitting, because once things start getting moved, then we're just going to have to put it back, because it helps us to find patterns and that kind of thing, to put everything exactly how it was found, or, you know, before it started. So just be mindful of that. I know a lot of times you want to throw stuff out. This is our notification matrix. Any fatality, significant injury, explosions. They wanted us to touch on the Western Guilford explosion call in the chemistry lab. I don't know, I guess y'all are aware of that call where the student was burned from the chemistry lab. We didn't know anything about it until the next day. The state's calling our office wanting to know about our investigation. So the engine company, they were dispatched out there on a med call. Burn patient, I think she was already in the back of the ambulance. At this time, the school never reported it as a fire call, explosion, or that type of stuff. So once they've left the scene, we can't go back in there and start investigating. Anytime y'all run into something like that, try to ask questions. You know, how did they get burned? Or if they tell you, you know, it was in the chemistry lab, that's just throw up a little red flag, call us so we can get out there then before you guys leave the scene and get in there to start doing investigations. When it comes to the schools, we have the rights to go in and do investigation. The county's the ones that actually do the code enforcement side of it. So, and we work with them sometimes on different things. We get them involved as well. Since that call, we're having a little bit of pushback from the schools not wanting us to let us in to talk to the students. I had a case like the next week where I couldn't even interview the students. The resource officer called, and you know, the principal was real hesitant even to let us have the parent. The parent didn't even want to come down and talk. You know, wanted to do it over the phone. Well, they didn't even want us in there. So we got a little bit of pushback on that. But then our office starts getting calls from the school board and wanting to know what statute gave us the right to even be in the schools. Well, there is one saying we can investigate anytime 911's called, we got the right to go, to go in and to investigate these. But burn patients, if you've got a burn patient, it's a small child, and you're like, something isn't right with this, we definitely need to be on that call. If you've got a lady that was cooking and she took the pan and some grease burned her hand while she was moving it, that's just add that medical portion to your narrative. We don't need to come out on those. Fireworks, if somebody gets burnt with fireworks, yeah, we'll come out on those. She had one pretty significant. The thing blew up on him. Even an adult, that kind of thing. Putting fireworks in mailboxes. We want to come out there on those. Any explosion other than like a transformer, we don't need to roll on those. But any explosions, especially involving the chemistry labs, we do need to come. Typically, we are not on hazmat calls for gas leaks and things. But if you feel like you go into a big commercial building and they've got an incident in there, we can come out and do code enforcement on those because they have a quality control area that they're supposed to stay within limits. And if it's over the limit, then we can start issuing citations for those. So if you feel like you need us, we can come out on those. Any fire which the origin and cause cannot be determined by you in charge, officer in charge, then definitely, you want to get us there. Anything suspicious or intentional, even if it was, they didn't mean to start something, but it grew into something bigger, we have to investigate those. Any fire that involves a juvenile under the age of 16, which now I believe December 1 that changed to 18, correct? It's under 18. We have to be involved in those. We keep track of our juveniles. So, after so many offenses, we send them to teen court and we have programs for them, but we want to keep track of those. Fire and life safety, fire code complaints, we follow up on those as well. And any other situation not listed for technical assistance. If y'all are dispatched on a structure fire, we're dispatched automatically on a structure fire with you guys, and you start canceling people because the notes may say just odor of smoke. Just remember when y'all start canceling everybody, we're thinking you're canceling us too, and even if you tell dispatch cancel everybody but the first ladder, they'll take us off the call. You may intend for us to keep rolling, but they will actually take us off the call, because a lot of times I'll keep rolling just to make sure you get in there and you know what you got, but they'll go ahead and take me off the call. But if you think that you're going to need us, say also with the exception of car 33, because you want to keep us coming. Because once they clear us, we have to give a door in, it messes up our times because we'll have to add ourselves back on the calls. And a lot of times, I've written a call and they're like, I show up, they're like, oh, I forgot you were even coming. And sometimes it's a pretty long drive to places that we go to, and we get there and we're like, oh, we're done, y'all, you can go back, So just keep that in mind if you are clearing people. If you need us or think you're going to need us, make sure that you state that on the radio too, with the exception of car 33. We can handle it, but go ahead and keep car 33 en route. That way we know. A lot of times I'm still listening to the chat channel, and by the conversation that you're talking to, the car, I'm pretty much telling when I'm just going to have to add myself back onto a call. Those things will, you might have smoke up here, but you can't find the heat source, and you go under the basement and there's smoke in there. So, usually we're going to have to come out on that kind of stuff. Anything else on that one you see? Okay. Suspicious fires along the roadside. You got a brush fire. I think we already might have touched on this already. We don't need to roll on those unless you have a suspect, or people have seen kids playing in the area, or you've got a gas can and you've got stuff, any suspicious people, or PD's there and already got somebody in custody. There's nothing for us to investigate. Smoke, a car wreck, airbag deployment, you got smoke, there's really nothing for us to investigate on that, so we don't need to come on those. Sometimes, you'll have a car accident and they call it in as car's on fire, and en route, you determine that it's just airbag deployment dust. We don't need to come on those. just use your judgment and your discretion. If you have multiple fires in an area, you know, you might want to contact us because there's probably somebody out there playing or, you know, down, you know, it seems to be a trend. Let us know because we can start a file on some of this stuff, and try to keep tabs on it. And then we can get GPD involved and then they get an incident number. At least we have something to start with if we start having more and more of these. I think we had a couple of gas can fires just sitting in different areas, sitting on the side of the road, just burning. Nobody around, but station will call and say, hey, this is what we got. And then you don't think nothing of it until the second call comes in and it's in a whole different location. So we start trying to track these kinds of calls. Anything you want to add? Any other questions?
I appreciate y'all's help on B Shift. Y'all do a great job again. So thank you for everything you guys do. If you have questions, by all means, y'all know to call. I don't mind answering the phone. I don't mind coming out. Either call me on the TAC channel or if it's at night, or if you prefer talking on the phone, which is great, I'd rather do that. By all means, if you have your phone in the truck, give me a shout. I don't mind at all.
And we are composing a list of things that's like the fire watch forms and that kind of thing. If there's any other thing that y'all can think of that maybe we need to look into or y'all would like to see done differently, you know, we've got a couple pages here of other things from the other classes. So if you can't think of it today, just send us an email because it's just things we're going to try to work on and find answers to.
If y'all don't have any questions, you can take a break, but Chief Combs, they have a little something, a big box grill that y'all must have did or whatever they want to talk to y'all about that. So I'm going to text them now and tell them y'all ready.
There's cookies, donuts, and coffee in the back. Help yourself. Yeah, I'm just gonna go over like. That's dedication. You're missing a retire and you're here. That is dedication.
Front row too.
I'm telling you.
What'd you find?
They got their alarm reset, everything's done.
Yeah,
No, it's on friendly. I went upstairs to talk to those two guys.
Hey, bro. How you doing? Good. How about you?
Yeah, man.
I think so. I can't
We
remember.
drove by Gates and it was still there today, so it can't be too great.
Yeah.
Part of the problem was that they were calling and putting it on test while they were working on stuff. And it was like for 8 hours and they were working over the time. So the thing went back live and then they set the shit
Right,
off.
I think that was on our day.
Yeah. But I told the problem, I said, come on,